Welcome to Crowbar Kernel Panic, the podcast at the intersection of Linux and gaming. This is episode 10. I bet you didn't know it was 10. I bet you didn't even know.
I didn't know until I went to the show notes and I'm like, holy crap, it's 10. Wow.
It's kind of 10, but in a kind of a sneaky kind of way. This is only our 9th podcast, but because we split the last episode into 2.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't do the 0.5 thing the way Leo does with Midcast. It was episode 9, which makes this 10. So we kind of cheated our way.
Hey, that works for me.
Into 10. We'll have to do a renumbering. It's going to be a whole problem.
Just edit that part out and no one will ever know.
But live streaming. Oh, we're not live streaming this week. But you can find us at YouTube at the Crowbar Kernel Panic YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to everybody who gave our last video some views and some comments. We're going to go over some of those comments in this episode as we compare. Well, basically, we're going to be reviewing our gaming experience on Ubuntu, but it's going to be impossible not to compare it to Fedora. We just did Fedora last week, so it's going to be impossible.
Oh no, I'm comparing it.
Yeah, that's right. All right, but this episode we're going to be talking about Ubuntu, and before we dive into it, I wanted to go over the comments that we got from last week's episode. So last week we did Fedora, and I asked people, I didn't ask on the show, I asked just as a pinned comment, which is pretty, like this episode, let's just go ahead and ask it now. What do you want us to review next? Just post it in a comment in this video, and we'll look at it. We're going to start making a list and go through these to try on Linux. But we got some responses. I was pretty surprised at the number of responses that we got, and a few of them were like repeats. And so those are ones that I think we definitely have to dive into. Without knowing what these responses were going to be, we went ahead and picked Ubuntu. So that's why we're doing Ubuntu this week. But next week, we're probably going to do one of these. So I said, what distro should we try next? The first comment, somebody named Crack Connoisseur, he said maybe Garuda. Mileage seems to vary greatly for people, and it's nice. I'm having to read through the cord of my microphone. It'd be nice to hear an in-depth of all changes they make and how they translate into daily gaming. I don't have the time to get into with university and work, and would appreciate some insight. Yeah, Garuda was mentioned to me a few times.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned
Garuda seems to be pretty hot right now. I don't know why.
It is, dude. Garuda, and I don't know if we have, because we kind of talked about it behind the scenes, but like if you watch a video on it or you look at the screenshots of it, like Garuda is wild. Like it's like all rainbow color. Yeah. Like it is so bright.
It's like 70s neon.
It is so wild. I feel like I should take ecstasy to use Garuda or something.
I know, right? Well, he is a crack connoisseur.
But yeah, it's Arch based. I think it's an Arch based distro.
Oh yeah, yep. It's Arch based, and it used Btrfs, which is two awesome criteria for me.
See, I never use Btrfs, and so if I use Garuda, it'll force me to use it because I won't change. I'll just use default settings. That's pretty cool. Also, I think we got another comment in here that was a +1 to Garuda. I'll read it when I get to it. And then recently at work, I did a presentation where I was talking about just updating, servers. We're trying to help people that don't normally use Linux, how to get on their update game. And someone after the meeting, because I bragged about how I was like a Linux fanboy, and he asked, like, he's just some random person. He was like, "Oh, dude, you gotta try Garuda. I don't know if you've tried it yet."
What?
Yeah,
seriously?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
In like the company chat app, he sent me a message. You gotta try Garuda, man. We got a message from Takisuno, and I checked out his YouTube channel. By the way, he's got some pretty neat videos. He says Pop would be cool, and then he gave the little XD, the little face.
Yeah, I've been wanting to give Pop a try, especially with Cosmic.
Yeah,
because Cosmic really changed GNOME's game on Pop OS. At least, I mean, it looks so intriguing because it's about 98% of the way I make GNOME to be.
Yeah,
and it's stock. So I'm pretty intrigued on that aspect.
Yeah, I like it a lot too. Even before I'd gotten used to GNOME, that's one of the things I was going to talk about in this Ubuntu review is I'm actually feeling really comfortable with GNOME now after using it on Fedora and then now Ubuntu. I'm actually kind of okay with it where I hated it before. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's pretty interesting. But even before that experience, I always said, I think the best rendition of GNOME is the Pop OS. And I'm running it on my laptop, which actually is a System 76 laptop. It's one of the old ones, but I actually got it before they released Pop OS. That's how old it is. But I at some point installed Pop OS on it. And I like it, but I've never actually used it for gaming, even though that's one of the things people say that it's good at. So we'll definitely have to review that one. I think Garuda and Pop is at the top of the list just because they're brought up a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Luciferi also suggested Pop OS. Says definitely give Pop OS a try. We'll do it. Luciferi.
Oh gosh, the next one.
I don't know if I've read this one.
I'd like to hear what gaming on Vanilla Debian is like. I'm like, oh, will it even install on my computer?
I think we can do it because
LMDE. That's the only way I think I can get it to install.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It's because I've done LMDE before, and when I did that review, I put Steam on it and tried some games. I don't think I did anything like I didn't do any stress tests or anything like hardcore gaming or anything like that.
But he says vanilla though. I don't think we can use LMDE. I mean, you know.
Well, that would be cheating for sure. Yeah. So
exactly.
So that was Mortamax 99. I'd like to hear what gaming on Vanilla Debian is like. It's the foundation for most distros, so why not use it as an opinion baseline of sort of between Debian-based distros?
That's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that it probably won't install on our systems.
Yeah.
We can use the non-free version, which has the proprietary stuff, and that may work. But I've had very bad experiences with that.
That would have to be a must. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. You'd have to do that. Tukisumo also says that he is running Fedora on his gaming machine at the moment pretty soundly. And then I asked him if he was using Fedora 34. I didn't go into any further detail as far as whether he's using Wayland or what he's doing. I'm sure he's probably using, he has to be using X. But he said yes. So yeah, he's rocking out on Fedora 34 as far as his gaming rig, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So
Fedora has definitely won me over pretty well as far as gaming went. I mean, yeah. I won't get into it right here, but once we start talking about Ubuntu, it'll come out.
We can talk about it a little bit before we jump into Ubuntu. But I was pleasantly surprised by Fedora. I actually when I went back and edited the last episode, I was kind of in the beginning of the episode, I sounded really negative, and then by the end, I was like, "Oh yeah, it's great. It's got great numbers. Like, I might stick with it, you know." So I feel like I kind of talked myself into it throughout the course of the podcast. And I felt kind of bad about kind of starting out pretty harsh on it, but all in all, I liked it. Now, I think so. Thank you everyone that left a comment. We got some other comments. Well, let's dive into Ubuntu, and I avoided talking to you about it too much, but I feel like we had like complete opposite experiences. I'm going to start out with some negatives I ran into. So first off, Ubuntu, the installation experience, they use the Ubiquity installer. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
Yep, Ubiquity.
I always worried that because I know there's the Ubiquity access points, the like Ubiquity network software. So I always am afraid I'm getting it mixed up with that. But
nope, it's the same thing, I think.
Yeah, which I prefer over the whatever it is that Red Hat and Fedora uses.
Anaconda, yeah.
Anaconda, yeah.
I do too. I mean, they would need to change like 3 things in Anaconda and it would be perfect, but they freaking don't, and it's so stupid.
Yeah. It just Ubiquity is just like designed to be user friendly. It's just
definitely.
It's designed so that your grandma can install Ubuntu, right?
Yep.
And it's great at that, and it does. So my installation, I didn't change anything. So the first time I tried to install it, and I tried to have a more customized installation. I wanted GNOME 40. I was going to immediately upgrade to GNOME 40. I was going to try newer NVIDIA graphics, which I've done on Ubuntu before. They make it pretty easily. You just had to add the PPA. I was going to just try to modify a few things. I failed miserably. Installing GNOME 40, I may as well have taken my desktop and thrown it out the window because it just... my monitors just got up off the desk and ran screaming. It didn't work.
That's great
whatsoever.
Oh my gosh.
I booted back up and it was all the animations. Yeah. All the animations, whenever you first load GNOME 40 and it brings you to the little dash screen with the search bar. Yep. All of that animation left a trail, so there was lines all over my screen. And then whenever I would click on to go back to the desktop, again all the animation would trail. And
oh my gosh, that's horrible. Was it using X or Wayland, or don't you know?
At that point, I'm not sure. Honestly,
probably X, because I think Ubuntu uses X.
Yeah.
By default.
The only, to my knowledge, the only mainstream. There's so many distributions. It's impossible to say the only.
Oh wait, did you have the
mainstream is 34 Fedora for 34. It's using Wayland. Yeah.
Right, but do you have the NVIDIA drivers installed at this point?
Now I do. Yeah.
But at that point, when it was giving you the trailing, did you?
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember.
Oh, okay, because it would definitely be X if you had the NVIDIA drivers installed.
Right. So I couldn't even fix it. I tried to just revert back. I couldn't even fix it, and I had only
reverting back is like a disaster. I hate that. I've tried that so many times.
And so I just said, you know what? I'm not that far into this. I could just reinstall way faster than I could try to fix it. So I just reinstalled Ubuntu. But this time I just said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to take the defaults. I'm not going to modify anything.
Going for vanilla.
Yeah.
Not trying to do that rocky road.
I'm going to install it as someone would that, this is their first gaming attempt on Linux. Because Ubuntu probably is that for a lot of people. Just because for so many years, it was the quote-unquote noob distro. It was the one that was a lot of people's introduction to a Linux desktop. I think that we are blessed today that I don't think Ubuntu has gotten significantly worse. I think it's still really good, but I think we're blessed today by all the other ones have risen. They're all way better than they were.
Competition makes everyone else better.
Yeah. So, I don't even know if that stereotype of Ubuntu being everyone's first distro is even true anymore, especially in the world of gaming. I think there's probably other distributions.
Well, hey, that one guy said Garuda. I mean,
yeah, that's
who knows
wild.
if he even heard of Ubuntu yet?
That seems like a leap, yeah.
That does seem like a leap.
Another thing that I noticed, in comparison to our review of Fedora, is Ubuntu. Whenever when we installed Fedora, it gave me the Nuevo drivers right away, and it had all the correct settings. It knew what graphics card I had. My desktop, minus gaming, I'm sure it wouldn't be any good for gaming, but as far as just being a desktop, it came up beautifully. I mean, everything was the right resolution. Everything looked perfect. Ubuntu, and this has happened to me the previous few times I've installed Ubuntu for whatever reason, it doesn't get my resolution right. I don't know if it's not giving me the correct version of the free driver. Or
are you on
happening.
1080p monitors, or are you a higher?
I'm on 1920 by 1080. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not on 4K or anything.
See, that's another thing. I didn't have that issue. My Nueve drivers started up, and my one screen only worked, which is normal, but it worked perfectly. I could have used it like that if I had to. Yeah,
and I want to say this.
And your graphics card's older, so it should be more supported.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I don't know what the determining factor there is. I use DisplayPort versus HDMI.
I use DisplayPort.
Oh,
I only ever use DisplayPort.
I don't know. I don't know what or why that is, but it's a simple enough fix. They even have the hardware tool where you can just launch it and just pick the appropriate driver.
Right.
And so
that is nice about Ubuntu is all you got to do is that you don't have to do any finagling to get the driver. It's pretty much there.
Yeah. To get the latest and greatest, you'll have to add a PPA and then install it. But
now I don't understand what you mean, because I had both the 460 and the 465 driver in the update.
Yeah. But 470 is the latest.
Oh, you're talking about 470. Okay. I thought you meant the stable, one of the stable ones. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, you have to definitely add a PPA for 470.
Oh, okay. So it's to get the unstable ones. Whatever Ubuntu considers stable, but I guess 470 is even unstable even for NVIDIA, I guess.
Yeah, that's beta.
Okay, well then I take back what I said then. It seems like you get, pretty much the latest then from that selection.
I think that's a pretty new thing, because I remember installing it not too long ago, and it was only the 460 drivers. I didn't see the 465. I think that's newer. I think maybe they did some testing and they were like, it's good now and we can say it's perfect or whatever.
Yeah. But so that's what I installed that, and that's what I'm using. The look and feel, like the natural, just I don't have any extensions installed. Everything is just a normal Ubuntu GNOME. I didn't like it at first, but I was having trouble getting the dash to panel. I was having trouble getting all that stuff to work and it not be Ubuntuified. And so I kind of was just like, all right, I'm just going to have to get used to this, because it doesn't seem like I can change it very successfully. And so I've just got the Ubuntu look. And it's kind of grown on me. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I like the Ubuntu theme. That I don't have a problem with that at all. Like, that is they've refined that so much over the years that it's good.
Yeah, and you know what? I normally do my icons on the left like this. The only difference is I like them closer to the center. I don't like that all my icons are at the top, and then my menu button is at the bottom left, but then I have an activities button at the top again. You know what I mean? I feel like
right.
I just want all these things. The activities button I never even use, because I would just hit the Windows key, anyway, or the the super key. But
see, I use the hot corners.
I don't have it enabled. I'm moving my mouse up there, nothing's happening.
Yeah, Ubuntu doesn't have it by default. Fedora does, but Ubuntu doesn't. But I have an extension for that. I have like 9 extensions right now.
Okay, but 9's better than in Fedora. You had like 30 extensions.
Well, that's because I was kind of experimenting.
Yeah, you've narrowed it down to like, these are the 9 essentials, the ones you really need.
Yeah, the ones that I have to have are dash to panel.
Yeah.
Tiling assistant, so that you can snap the windows to the sides.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying, like Windows does.
Yeah, I just do that with the hotkey.
Yeah, I know you can, but I'm not a keyboard guy.
Yeah,
I should be, but I'm not. I just don't use it.
I feel like that's the way to use GNOME. I feel like GNOME is either for like using hotkeys or using a touchscreen. I feel like.
Well, that's why I use the hot corner. See, I have extension, custom hot. Let me see here. What is it called? Custom hot corners extended, and I can have all 8 of my corners to different things that I want. Like, I can have it to an application if I want. I can snap my mouse up in the top. I have my tracking speed so high that it's so fast to do it that I'm like, it's faster for me to do that than do it with the keyboard.
All right, you're just like a samurai over here with your mouse.
Basically.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm okay with the layout. My last nitpicky thing. Well, this isn't nitpicky. This is actually a real problem. I don't think it's going to be that hard to fix, but I'm having Pulse Audio troubles. I may just be able to ditch Pulse Audio altogether. I don't know, but and
Pipewire's coming.
Yep. I had trouble with Pipewire too, though, and I couldn't figure out how to manipulate Pipewire.
That's true.
Pulse Audio at least has been around long enough that it's easy to find documentation on it. But I only have this problem with Ubuntu. but it's happened previous times I've used Ubuntu. When I'm watching YouTube videos, it just goes to this like.
Oh
sound.
yeah, yep. I've had that.
Yep. And I know it's Pulse Audio because I launch a terminal and I just kill all Pulse Audio and then refresh the browser page and it fixes. And I just have to do that about once every time I sit down at my computer.
Oh gosh, yeah. No, thank you.
So I need to actually permanently fix it. I read a forum post about it, and they suggested a fix without having to completely remove Pulse Audio. They suggested a fix, and I'm going to try that after the show to see if it fixes it permanently. But like I said, I've had this problem. I've had this problem with Ubuntu in the past, even on Ubuntu.
What fixed it?
Well, even on Ubuntu-based distributions in the past, I've not had this problem. It's only on Ubuntu. For me.
Well, what fixed it? What fixed it for me? I know exactly what you're talking about. Is I used to have my Sound Blaster sound card, and it always used to happen. What I do is I just have to unplug my headphones and plug them back in, and it'd be fine. I wouldn't have that issue anymore as long as the video was playing. But every time the video would play, it would come back. And my remedy was getting the PreSonus.
Yeah.
I've never had the issue since then.
Yeah, I don't know if I've had the issue when I'm using my USB interface or if it's only when I'm using my speakers. Because
I love this USB interface. I should have got one years ago. It's freaking so much better than the sound cards.
It's so much better for podcasting, that's for sure.
That too, yeah.
Yeah, I always
definitely.
When I used directly plugged into my sound card, I always had some sort of staticky noise.
Yep, that's what I was dealing with for a long time.
Yeah,
when I first started.
But other than that minor issue, which I think is remediable if I just put in the time, I just haven't looked into it deeply yet. That's really the only hiccups I've had. Everything has ran without any. Another weird thing about Ubuntu and Fedora is I get those little notifications saying that an error has occurred. But it just seems to be kind of just bunk. You know
Nothing.
what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I get a lot.
Everything still works.
Yeah. I get a lot less of them on Ubuntu than I do on Fedora. But I think that other distributions just don't have that alert. Like I probably, if I were to look at my, if I were to look at my, processes, there's probably that error exists. I'm just not getting the alert.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that.
So. How was your installation experience?
Installation was fine. Okay. I actually used ZFS, the experimental installer. I'm running on it right now, and everything's been fine.
So what's the deal with ZFS? Why did you want to try that?
All right. So the ZFS on root, which is, I just wanted to try that because I never did it before. So I figured, what the heck? And the reason why I want to do ZFS at all is because my storage, I'm running out of space, and I wanted to do RAID 5, but I didn't trust ButterFS with it. So I wanted to do ZFS for RAID 5 because I trust it more. That's the only reason.
Okay.
But what I'm going to do from now on, since I'm going to move on from Ubuntu, is I'm going to virtualize it and just have it in my distro that I have running in a virtual machine and just directly pass the drives to it.
Yeah, that's pretty rad. What are you going to use for virtualization? We're straying off from Ubuntu now.
Usually I use QEMU KVM.
Oh, okay.
I know that relatively well.
I've been wanting to try Proxmox, but I haven't found a real.
I haven't even dabbled in that. I've always stuck to KVM.
Yeah. Anyway, back to
as long as you're not doing graphical stuff, you're fine with KVM.
Yeah,
graphical stuff, it starts to get a little.
There's that whole. I wanted to do an episode on this, but I felt like it was like way over my capabilities. But there's that whole KVM pass-through thing where.
Oh yeah, I've looked into that before with Windows.
If you
run Windows and then you just pass your graphics card through.
If we could figure out how to do that and do an episode on that, that would be amazing. But I'm not confident we can, to be honest with you, because it seems really complicated.
Well, there's one major problem with that specifically, and that's that you need two graphics cards. One to run your system.
That's right.
Your Linux system, and one to run Windows.
Yeah.
And unless you have an Intel with an integrated graphics, you might as well give up.
Nobody's trying to buy two graphics cards right now.
No one's even trying to buy one graphics
so that they
card.
can KVM pass through Windows performance to a Linux monitor. Yeah, no one's doing that. You're right.
No.
Scratch that idea.
Otherwise, I would definitely give it a try because I've always wanted to do that.
That's hilarious. So install with ZFS.
Yep, no problems. It's been like normal Ubuntu. I've never even would notice. Yeah, I mean, I say in the show notes it's the worst experience I've had, and it really is. I'm trying to look at it more objectively, but it's like I've had nothing but problems with this thing since I installed it as far as gaming went.
You sound like me with Fedora last week.
But like, I'm not going to talk myself into this. I know it. I just know it. I went into this thinking this is going to be the best experience I'm going to have because it's Ubuntu. Mm-hmm. And I came out of it with like, why is this thing even here? There should not be a desktop Ubuntu. It should only be server.
That's hilarious.
But like, okay, so the first game I installed, I always do this, is Resident Evil. It doesn't work at all. No matter what I do, no matter what Proton I use, no matter what settings I use,
I think that game is so finicky that it's a bad first test. My first test is always Elder Scrolls because it just always.
Oh yeah, I did that as well.
Yeah,
I did that as well, and I had issues.
Okay. Oh, did you have the same issue that you always have, where the drive?
Yes, but I couldn't fix. No. Okay. Oh no, actually, wait. Let me see. Yes, I did have that issue with Ubuntu. That's right, because I talked to you about it. Okay. No, I have the stuttering issue.
Yeah.
And 99% of the time, game mode fixes that. This time it didn't. I'm getting a good roughly around 60 frames per second on it, which is normal for my system at max settings.
Yeah.
But I'm getting that horrible stutter where it's like every 10 seconds it's just stutter.
You whenever are you in windowed full screen?
I tried all of it. I tried all of them. I'm on Glorious Egg Roll. I tried the experimental. I tried 6.3 or whatever the newest one is. Just nothing. Nothing has helped it, and that's just it. And I cannot play like that. There's no way, because I know for a fact that I'm going to get the kill shot, and it's going to freeze, and I'm going to die.
Well, at least you'll always have that as an excuse.
That's true. Maybe I should use this. Ubuntu, best gaming distro.
Why are you tanking the floor? Ubuntu. No, you should go back and watch our episode about Elder Scrolls, because you pointed out a lot of performance improvement stuff, and I want to say one of them dealt with a stuttering problem. So
I'm pretty sure that was game mode, because once I used game mode in the past, it stopped that stuttering.
I don't even know how to turn on game mode. Like I've never used game mode in my entire life.
You type in game mode run in the Steam options, and then %command %sign.
Oh, so it's a Proton command, the game mode.
It's game mode is the thing that Ubuntu develops itself.
Oh.
And it turns off all unnecessary things in the background to focus on gaming, and it makes your processor, go up to max, whatever it can do, and all this stuff to reduce latency and all that.
So are you typing that?
That's what it does.
So are you typing that in the terminal or as a launch command in Steam?
Launch command in Steam. And how I know it works is I have an extension on GNOME that is the game mode extension, and every time I start the game, it actually pops up with the notification that says game mode is running.
Wow.
So I know it's working.
I've never used it. You've talked about it before, but it's always just like I have
it's helped me a lot in the past, but not here.
Wow.
Where it should be working.
I'm going to have to run some side-by-side tests of like, well, here's my FPS without game mode. Here's my
the
FPS
with. It really doesn't make a difference,
really?
But that stuttering, it stopped it on Fedora. On Fedora, immediately as soon as I used that, it stopped it.
Wow.
No problem.
Wow. I've never... I've heard people talk about it, but I've always been so apprehensive of those type of like, gimmicky, like... this is ultra mode.
It's definitely not a gimmick as far as if you need just that little edge, that little tiny bit of edge, it works.
I thought this was like an NVIDIA thing or something. I didn't realize that it was.
Yeah, it's Ubuntu. Ubuntu actually develops game mode.
Wow.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'll actually give that.
That's why I trust it. Or at least I thought I did.
That's hilarious. In the past, whenever you've mentioned it, I've always just been like, yeah, it's not for me. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it now, though.
Yeah, I mean, for you, it might not do anything, but for that one game, for ESO, it almost always gets rid of that stutter, but not this time.
Well, like I said, that's always my test game. It's my like usually the first thing I install when I install a new distribution.
Right.
I'm not even really playing ESO right now, but for one thing, it's free to play, so you can just install it and then try it. You don't have to have a subscription running or something like that.
Exactly.
And so I installed it, and my character, because he's sitting in the place he was last time I did this test, he's in like one of the most popular portions of one of the most popular cities. And
I do the same thing.
Yeah, and it's not a great test because you can only kind of get a feel for it because you may log in. It
depends on how many people are playing at the time and all that stuff.
Right, exactly. There's no way to have a perfect comparison, but I put in the show notes that I was 55 FPS, which is right around where I was on Fedora. I think on Fedora I was even getting getting higher than maybe that on average. But I think it was really similar. I think without it being a real side by side, like a real FPS test, I don't really think I could say that Fedora was higher than Ubuntu. It was really about the same. And then as far as like stuttering, like, moving my character around, I didn't see everything seemed like normal.
Right.
One thing I did notice, I remember whenever we were doing the CPU comparison and we were talking about our FPS on different CPUs, one thing I didn't consider is that whenever I was doing those tests, I was actually playing the game. I wasn't just like standing in a city. And when I play the game, I usually have YouTube up on my other monitor, and I think that's why.
That'll do it.
Yeah, I think I was seeing about a 10 frame rate drop because of running YouTube at the same time.
That'll do it.
But yeah, between Fedora and Ubuntu, I didn't really notice a difference in Elder Scrolls anyway. Everything seemed to be fine. But that's so funny that you ran into the stuttering problem. Whenever you install it, say on whenever we did Fedora, when you installed it, then you were running into a different problem. But after you got it did you ever install it?
Yeah, I got it to install.
And you didn't have the stuttering.
No. Nope. Oh no, sorry. No, I did at first, and then I did the game mode thing, and then it went away, like always. Yep. That's what's always fixed it. That between that and Glorious Egg Roll, Proton, both those combined, it runs great.
I'm almost always using the Glorious Egg Roll Proton. I didn't do that this time because I wanted to keep everything like as just like as plain as possible.
Yeah. I did try the other Protons too, and it just. That's always my last resort is Glorious Egg Roll plus the game mode. Yeah. If that doesn't work, then I know it's not gonna nothing's gonna work.
I gotta try this game mode thing, man. I didn't realize it was so legit. Did you try any other games or any other tests?
Yeah, I did Metro Exodus because I got that game for the summer sale, and I've been wanting to get that game because I love the Metro games. They're awesome, and most of them play well. Actually, the remastered versions or the Redux ones are actually Linux natives.
Yeah.
But the originals aren't, and I have the originals, but they still play perfect on Proton. Proton. Yep. So, I tried that, and I've had this issue in the past, and I can't remember which distros I've had this issue, but it starts on my left monitor, and it's my vertical monitor, which doesn't work. And you gave me the suggestion of hitting, what was it, Shift, super key, and then left or right, depending on what screen you want it to. And I tried that, but what happened is the game normally the game comes up, and there's a little tiny window that the game is in on my screen at the top left corner, and the rest of the screen is actually flickering like crazy, like it's like seizure-like. It's like going nuts. And so once I hit the Shift Super right for me to try to get to my right monitor, it just freezes and nothing works, nothing happens, and then I hit Shift Super and then left back to that thing, and then it comes back and it's like it's working again, but obviously in the screwed up state it's in.
I think that's it. I think that must have something to do with your portrait monitor.
I think so too, because I think it goes, like I said before, it goes 1080 by 1920 instead of 1920 by 1080, and it can't transition, or something's wrong with the transition trying to go over to that. Because it looks like it works when I do it, but then it just is blank screen on my right screen.
Because I noticed the problem when I picked that game up on the summer sale too. And I noticed the problem that if I alt-tabbed out of the game and then alt-tab back in, it would change the resolution of the game. Like, instead of it taking up my entire monitor, it would only take up like a little portion of my monitor. Yeah,
like I couldn't even alt-tab out of it. I can't. Yeah. It just does nothing. Nothing works. Once you're in the game, you have to quit it. That's it. That's the only way to get out of it.
I ran into that same problem, but that was like an issue I had only with that game. And I'm wondering if it has something to do... I'm wondering if you're having a similar problem, but whenever you're trying to transition from that portrait mode to the landscape mode. And also...
I tried Proton, but that didn't do anything. That actually didn't even work at all. So
I haven't tried it on Proton, but
yeah,
my monitors also match and are the same orientation, and so I wouldn't have... I think it moved over fine.
Yeah,
for me.
I think you... Yeah, I think you... That's the... excuse me. That's the reason.
It is funny though that everything seems to open on the left monitor. My desk is set up so that's the appropriate monitor. But I remember
I know. I wish that's how I could have mine set up, but it doesn't work out that way.
Yeah. You were like, it only opens to my left monitor, and I was like, yeah, me too. But that's where I want
it. Sounds like a you issue, man.
Yeah, sounds like you just need to move that monitor over there, and that monitor over there. Problem solved. Yeah, you don't move the window. You just move your monitor.
Yep.
I did the same FPS tests that we did for Fedora, and then I also added in Gravity Mark as a more modern test. Although we didn't do Gravity Mark on Fedora, so we can't compare the two. I did do the Lost Coast, so I did Half-Life 2 Lost Coast, just like on Fedora. And my test results so just to remind you, on Fedora, I got 287.68. On Ubuntu, I got 289.35, which is a difference of like my mouse cursor might have been in a different place.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
It's probably not a dramatic enough difference, especially on that old of a test, but
no. And unless you ran the test like 100 times, it's like you never know.
That's the thing, really, with those types of things. To get a really accurate measurement, you'd almost have to do it several times and then record the differences.
Yeah.
I launched Final Fantasy 14 just before we got on the podcast, just because I wanted to see how it compared. I was not playing that on Fedora, so I don't know, but compared to ESO anyway, I got 60 FPS. It was way more consistent. ESO, I was getting 62, 51. It was like all over the place.
Yeah, that's what happens with me too. Yep.
Yeah, but then in Final Fantasy, it pretty much stayed at 60, and every once in a while it would go down to 58 or 62. Like it was like right. Solid 60. So I imagine that I would probably get a similar performance on almost any other distro.
Right.
But we tried out Gravity Mark. Both you and I tried that out. And it's really interesting because it's like so lightweight. It's like whenever you install it, which it's kind of a pain to get downloaded and running because it looks...
the woes of Linux.
Yeah, it looks like it failed because you sent me a message. You're like, I'm getting this error message. And I was like, oh, I did too. Yeah. Don't worry. It's okay. You're supposed to get that error message.
But wait, there's more.
But whenever you run it, it builds like this Earth, and then it builds like as many little asteroids or whatever.
Yeah.
There's like an asteroid belt, and it builds as many as it can. It gets to like 200,000, and
it says that, but mine counted like 380 some thousand at one point, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh wow. And I have no idea what to compare this score to, but it gave me an 8842. So I don't know if it's like 3D Mark where you can kind of compare it to other people's 3D Mark scores. I'm sure Gravity Mark has something similar to that. But that's what I got at a 52 FPS. Now, what'll make this test interesting is I did that with both monitors. I want to try it with one monitor just unplugged.
Oh, you did that with both monitors running like it was a span across both of them?
No. It was just on one monitor, but my graphics card is powering both. I think I even had
I
my
got you.
browser
I got
open.
you.
I wasn't playing a YouTube video, but I even think I had a browser open on the other side.
Right. I know what you're saying. Yep.
I wonder how it would compare with only trying to run one monitor. If it was a dramatic enough difference, I would try to get by with just one monitor. I've never been a one monitor person. I've always
Me
had to
neither.
have two.
Yep.
But if it was like a real dramatic difference, I would try it. I would do like a one monitor and then my laptop with what's that program where you can sync your mouse and keyboard across both of them?
Oh,
Synergy.
yeah. Synergy, yeah.
I might,
yep.
And there's a new competitor to Synergy now. Bonus points if anybody posts it in the comments. But I would try something like that where my game or whatever I'm playing is utilizing one monitor and all of my graphics card's power, but I'm still able to kind of open things on my laptop and use that for entertainment and for notes and that sort of thing.
Right.
I would consider that, but it would have to be a significant difference. So I'm going to try to run that test and see how different it is. But it'll also be interesting because now when we test Garuda, if that's the next one we do, or Pop, then we can compare this test to that one. Also,
as we go on, we can compare.
Yeah, and also I want to point out Gravity Mark uses Vulkan, so we're able to test Vulkan, which is like a more realistic, test
nice
today. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yep.
Anyway, so that was my experience. Anything else you want to point out about Ubuntu before we kind of give it a review, like a overview?
Let's see here. Ubuntu. Nope. I think I said everything other than, I did do the Gravity Mark stuff. If you wanted me to say that now before we end it. I did the Gravity Mark. I had a little bit of an issue, I think. It started on my left monitor, like always, and that monitor is vertical, and so it doesn't show all of the asteroids on the frame. It only shows so many. And I'm looking at this thing, and it's saying like 52,000 asteroids, and it's supposed to be up in the 200,000s, and I'm like, that doesn't seem right. So on 1080, technically 1080p, it got a 12,884 score with 77.1 FPS. Then I did the windowed version. These are both Vulkan. It's 1600 by 900. And I got 11,499 with 68.8 FPS.
Oh, on the windowed version. Oh.
Yeah. So somehow I got higher on the more resolution monitor than on the windowed version.
Oh, wow.
Which is impossible.
Wow, dude, I didn't realize it was going to be so much higher than my score. That is really good.
But we need to compare our windowed ones because my full screen one did not. That is not right.
That used to be another thing I would always see back in the day, gaming on Linux. Every YouTube video I would watch, people would be playing games windowed, and I'm like, why does everybody playing games on Linux play it in windowed mode? Why don't they play it full screen? I don't know why that was the thing for a while, but I guess because of this, maybe it was a frame rate thing maybe back then.
Could be. Yeah, sometimes it's a little weird like that. Yeah, but most of the time nowadays, I don't have that issue.
So I'm going to have to try it windowed to see how that compares. That's pretty interesting.
Yep. And the only other games I tested was ESO and then Halo Master Chief Collection, which I got between 60 and 120 FPS, depending on which game you were playing.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean...
So yeah, that's it for Ubuntu for me.
So all in all, I could... Honestly... I was worried that this review was going to be boring because, honestly, Ubuntu's not all that different from what I normally use. It already has apt.
Right.
I can install snaps. I don't know. It's not like exotic to me, really.
Right. It's the boring distro.
Yeah,
it just works.
GNOME is more exotic than Ubuntu because I'm oftentimes using Ubuntu Mate, or I've used Ubuntu in the past. I've done a bunch of different ones. But whenever Ubuntu's been using GNOME for years, but ever since that transition, I've not really been a big fan. And so the biggest thing for me is getting used to GNOME, and that was really thanks to GNOME 40 on Fedora. I had a lot to do with that. So I was a little worried that Ubuntu would be so stable for me and so normal that it would be a boring review. I'm actually kind of glad you ran into some problems that we could talk about.
Yeah. I was not expecting it to be like this at all. I was
Yeah.
expecting this to be so smooth because I've never had an issue on Linux Mint. Not this big of an issue at least with it. It always starts on the right monitor on Linux Mint. I don't have the issue with stuttering on ESO. I didn't try Resident Evil on Linux Mint yet because I didn't have it at the time. But
I've played it on Linux
I don't
Mint,
know.
but I don't normally have the problem that you have. Or
Yeah,
no, I
I
take
don't
that
know.
back. I did. Remember when we first tried it, I couldn't get it to work.
Right. But since then, you were all right.
Right. I guess we should also say what version of Ubuntu we installed, which...
Oh, yeah, 2104. That's what I
2104.
installed.
I was on their website trying to see. I wasn't even sure. So that's how disconnected from from the Ubuntu community I am. I'm not even sure what version we have installed. But yeah.
I just clicked Ubuntu and installed.
I don't know. You know, what's so funny is like, I think Ubuntu is a great beginner distribution for somebody that is jumping into Linux. I think that if you're already really used to Windows and you're used to the Windows paradigm, maybe try Linux Mint.
Right.
But I know that for me, when I first started using Linux, I wanted it to look different. I didn't want to feel like I was just using Windows. And so that's the niche I think Ubuntu kind of fits. Is it feels like Ubuntu. Like they have their own thing. You're definitely using an Ubuntu distribution whenever you use their distribution. And so for that, I think it's great. I don't know that it's the best particularly for gaming. I think that if you're an experienced Linux user, you may want to try something else that may take a little more setup, but you may see a better performance from. But then again, the difference is not night and day. Most people playing something like Final Fantasy XIV on Ubuntu versus on an Arch-based distro, they're not going to, I don't believe they're going to see a huge difference, to be honest with you, as far as, I think you're splitting hairs to see the difference.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't know.
As long as the stuff works, I don't see the problem,
Yeah.
If it works for you, go right ahead and use it. I'm not going to, tell you to use something else.
So, yeah, Ubuntu for gaming. Have at it. All right. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. So what are we doing, Garuda?
Yeah, let's do Garuda.
All right, we'll do Garuda. All right.
I might install both of them and then just kind of like use Garuda now and kind of like tinker with Pop.
I think we go Garuda. Pop is too similar to we just did Ubuntu. But we'll do...
Okay, so we go back forth.
Right, so we'll do Garuda and then we'll do Pop after that. I think that's the plan. And then anything else, please suggest in the comments. We'll do it next. But for now, see you next week. Peace.
See ya.